Yo, what's up, YouTube? I'm Marshall, and today I'm going to be talking about the NBA Finals and what I saw, kind of what I thought. First things first, I was right. I said the Warriors were winning 6 games, and they did. Even after Game 1 when they lost, even after Game 3 when they went down 2-1, I said the Warriors winning in 6 games. And, excuse me, sorry for that. I ate some food. Had some pizza and some root beer. I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona right now, where the NBA Finals should have took place. But it didn't because the Suns choked in the second round against the Mavericks in Game 7 when they lost by 33 points. That was pretty bad. And it's funny because could have made win to Game 7 if they win the finals and went to a Game 7. But that did not happen. Yeah, like I was saying, the Warriors did win in 6 games despite them winning. Even when they went down 2-1, I still had them winning in 6 games. Where a lot of people that predicted the same thing as me were saying, like, hey, there's no way that's going to happen. Like, it's going to be in 7 games or even the Celtics are going to win. But I stay true to myself, and my predictions actually aren't too bad. They're actually pretty good because I was right. Just like Stephen A. Smith, shout out to Stephen A., predicted the Warriors were going to win the finals, win the championship at the beginning of the year. So not only did he predict them to win the championship when they were in the finals, but he predicted it right at the beginning of the season where nobody thought they were going to win it. I didn't think they were going to win it either. I knew they were going to be really good, make the playoffs. I thought they were going to be like the 4th, 5th seed. They got the 3rd seed. So they exceeded my expectations, and I think a lot of people's expectations for that matter. And, you know, they deserved it, man. They deserved it. The biggest key to why they won was Stephen Curry. He won Finals MVP. He had a heck of a series. Played great in every game except for Game 5. That game was Andrew Wiggins' team went off. That was a great, impressive win in Game 5, too, because Curry was off and they were still able to get the dub. He only had 16 points, shot terrible from the field. But Andrew Wiggins was able to step up that game with 26 points and 13 rebounds. So it was huge. Curry had a big Game 4 where he had 43 points. Games 4 through 6 were just amazing for the Warriors. And man, they played really good, and they really deserve this championship. Big reason as to why the Celtics lost was turnovers. That's a big reason to a lot of teams why they lose games is turnovers. It's just very key, and the Warriors scored off a lot of that. I mean, that's a big reason why the Warriors won. Even though the Warriors did win the series in 6 games, the thing they lacked was offensive rebounds. The Celtics killed them on the offensive boards. If the Celtics did win this series, that'd be why the Warriors lost, because they just were horrible at getting rebounds. They did better within the last couple games. They even out-rebounded the Celtics the past couple games. But just overall in the whole series, the Celtics were just dominating, which makes sense because they got Robert Williams III, who's an amazing shot blocker. He's a great post, great center. Does great things for them. He's a great player. Watching him in that series, like I've watched him before, but not a whole bunch. But watching him in these finals, man, he impressed me a lot, and I got a lot of respect for that man. But the Warriors and their shooting too, like Jordan Poole had a great series, Klay Thompson had a good series, Andrew Wiggins played amazing. I'm really happy for Andrew Wiggins. A lot of people were saying before the series, like if the Warriors were going to win, Andrew Wiggins had to have a great series, and he went on to do that. Another thing to the Celtics, why I don't think they won, is like Jason Tatum never had a big game. Sure, he had a lot of good games, and he also had a couple bad games, like in Game 6. He only had 13 points. I mean, you're not going to be able to win a basketball game, especially in an elimination game like that. You need your best players to perform in the finals. And since he didn't do that, they didn't do good. Jaylen Brown played better than him in the series. Al Horford had a pretty solid series. He had a great Game 1. He rated 26 points, 6 6 rebounds, all that type of stuff. Or was it 6 assists? I could be totally wrong. He did really good in Game 6 as well. But from Games 2 to 5, he only scored like 30 points within those games combined. So he did good for, he did good for himself. I already talked about the Warriors. I mean, both ball clubs played really well, in my opinion. Obviously, there's just those big mistakes. The Celtics and the turnovers was the biggest thing. But to be honest, it was turnovers with both teams. I mean, the Warriors, they were turning the ball over like crazy, too. And if you're going to score, it's one thing. If you get the turnover, yeah, it's bad. But if they're scoring at the turnover, that's what makes it worse. So let's say you get like 10 turnovers in the game, but they only score 2 points at the turnovers. It's not that big. But let's say you have like 13 turnovers and they score like almost 30 points off those turnovers, which is pretty much every time. You're doing something wrong. And again, that's the main reason why the Warriors won this series. Like I said, so happy for Steph Curry winning the championship and getting that Finals MVP because, you know, that's something that he needed for his legacy and for his case. It's definitely going to help out a lot. That's always the one thing he hasn't had that a lot of people are like, you know, why they don't mention him in the greats. A lot of people do think Curry's a top 10 player of all time now. And I have to agree with that. And I also agree that he is the greatest point guard of all time. It's either between him and Magic Johnson. I cannot get mad if you say Magic Johnson because I've always said the same thing until this series. Magic Johnson, great career, 6'9" point guard, averaged like 18 points. I want to say 9 assists. He might have averaged a double-double. Had a great career, especially with the Lakers and all that. Did amazing. won about 4 rings. I mean, he had a great career there. Great Lakers player. It's arguable with him or Kobe being the greatest Lakers player of all time. I think that goes to Kobe, just because of his legacy and everything he was able to build in LA. But if you think Magic too, can't get mad at that. Can't go wrong with that pick. I just think Curry is, I don't know, just like I feel like he, right now he's the better point guard of all time. And I think even when his career is all said and done, like we don't know how many rings he's gonna win. I mean, the Warriors are gonna be favorites next year. They just won it, and they're not getting any worse. You know what I'm saying? So if they win it next year, or Curry gets a 5th ring, and that would be big to his legacy too. Could you imagine if he wins his 5th ring and has more rings than LeBron? How much the media would go crazy over that? That would be insane. I remember when they both had 3 rings, like it wasn't anything too crazy, but now that they both have 4, hey, you never know, man. And if Curry doesn't get that 5th ring, it could be not even next year, just any time. And let's say LeBron doesn't. If Curry ever ends up with more rings than LeBron, that might be kind of scary. I still think LeBron will be better. Obviously, he's always going to be the better player than Curry, in my opinion, because rings don't mean everything. But the media will go crazy over that. Will Curry get more rings than Jordan? That's something to think too. Or even LeBron could. I know LeBron's getting up there in age, and he's about to be entering his 20th season, but he's still playing like he's 25. He's a freaking beast. Because you got to think about it. Curry's at 4 rings right now. Let's say they're the favorites winning next year. So let's say they win next year. That's 5. And that'll be his 14th season. And after that, he'll still have a good 6 years left. I think Curry's the type of guy that he can play 20 seasons just like Kobe did. Like Dirk, I think he played a lot of seasons too. Tim Duncan played 19 seasons. Like, there's a bunch of guys that play a whole bunch, and I think Curry can do that. Curry can be a great player even when he's 40. Just like LeBron. LeBron's going to still be starting when he's 40. If he's playing until he's 40, which I think he will. That's about 3 more seasons. He's got enough left in the tank to do all that. But it's something curious to think about. Like, if Curry passes Jordan on rings, that doesn't mean Curry's the greatest player of all time, obviously. But, that does help his legacy a lot. Like, it's very, Curry just got done with his 13th season. It's very, there's a very high potential that he could. There's a high chance that he could. Because let's say he plays 20 seasons, right? He's still got 7 years left to win 3 rings. And he just won 4 rings in 8 years. He can do 3 in 7. He can do that. Especially with the team he's got right now. Him, Clay, Draymond, those guys have been together for a long time. And they're all really good together. They work really well together. Maybe Kevin Durant will come back since the Warriors just won the championship. I was playing. That's another thing too. A lot of people are planning on Durant because he left 3 years ago and the Warriors ended up winning the championship without him. So I don't think that really hurts his legacy at all though. But a lot of people are gonna have their their doubts. Here's another thing about Kevin Durant. I know this is like NBA Finals analyst pretty much or whatever or analysis. But I know I've been talking about other things too along with it. But there's just so much connections with KD. Like every time how he choked in the playoffs and how bad he played. Yes, he didn't have the greatest series, but I look at the stats, he didn't play too bad either. Yeah, he didn't play as good as he should have. They got swept. But I think if they would have won that series, we've been talking about how bad he played. They might have been oh yeah, he had a rough series, but they wouldn't have been talking about how poorly he played. But I think that's gonna close up the video. Gotta give it to the Warriors, shout out to them. Shout out to them for making my prediction right. I remember I said Warriors in 6, and I was getting texts from people oh, I think your prediction's gonna be wrong. Screw you guys, man. I'm just playing. Those are my friends. I'm just playing. But my prediction was not wrong. It was right. I was telling everybody Warriors in 6, and I don't think that. I think the Celtics are gonna win it, and I'm experience, man. That's another big reason why the Warriors won. Celtics are young. They had a hard time handling the ball. You got to capitalize on these chances, man, because you don't know if you're ever going to go back to the finals. I think the Celtics will. There's no doubt about that. I think they will go back to the finals sometime. Maybe not next year, but sometime in the future, I think they will, especially with Tatum and all those guys. As long as they all stay together, I think they will. Tatum, Brown, Marcus Smart, all those guys. But you never know. You just never know. LeBron might never go to the finals again. Do I think he will? Yeah. But maybe he won't. Curry, he might not go to the finals ever again. You just never know. You just never know. So you gotta capitalize it. Damian Lillard, you see my shirt, my favorite basketball player of all time. I hope he goes to the finals. I think he will sometime. But if he only goes one time, he's got to get done that time. He's got to win a ring because I don't know how many more times he's going to go to the championship if he stays in Portland. And I love Portland. I'm from there. I love the Blazers. They'll win the championship next year. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.